I could at least do that. I'm a decent man. I try to be a decent man. And I don't forget friends. I'm a loyal person to my friends, but God help you when you go against me. Like those tenants who don't want to pay you your rent and catch you running up and down, back and forward, boy, looking for you. But the numbers today are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Anywhere from our family of islands, 242-300-5720, or you can text at 422-4796. Today we're going to deal with freedom of information. You know, is it something that is true or is it false? Is this an actuality or is this just a myth? Darwin Russell, how are you feeling today? So you were on vacation last time. We missed you. You know, I know you have a lovely family, but I tell you, the female supporters of Remark will tell me, where the heck is Darwin Russell? I said, well, you know, he listening abroad, but you're back in studio today, sir.
Back in studio. Good afternoon, Bahamas. Good afternoon to my Remark audience. Thank you. I appreciate being missed. It's always nice to be missed. So yeah, I had some much needed R&R. Take some time away. Visited my family in Florida. So yeah, I'm back in the saddle today, Garth. Happy to be here, sitting with you in Lincoln today to have hopefully a robust conversation about these matters.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lincoln Bain, no one needs to speak about you, no one needs to introduce you. You are the voice of change, they call it. And I'll go right ahead, my brother. I really want to dedicate at least the first 10 to 15 minutes of this program to inform us as to what is happening with you. I know you gave me and some other Guardian radio host a special invitation to attend your upcoming event. So I just figured I'd just go ahead and allow you to invite others. I'll go right ahead, Mr. Lincoln Bain.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been quite some time since I've been in the studio. This used to be my home one time ago.
I know. You never invited me here, though.
I know, right? But I thank you for having me here. And it's your show.
Well, it ain't my show. It's the Bahamian People show. You've always stood and said it's all about the Bahamas, and I want to stand with you on that. This is all about the Bahamas. We're going to have even Mr. Ruben Rami, our senator, to come and join us. He's going to assist us with this freedom of information conversation. But Mr. Lincoln Bain, this event you're having at Fusion, the last time we saw you at Fusion, it was at a church service, and the pastor was making some remarks, and I was almost astonished. I'll be very frank with you when I heard that you're going to also be having your Vision 2030 also to be at Fusion. But not only is that correct?
Yes, it's going to be at Fusion Superplex. Vision 2030.
Vision 2030. And then guess what else knocked me off with my rockets? When I saw you could be on Zen and Nas for 2.5 hours, I stayed look, who does that? You know? So I was saying, tell us about Vision 2030. Just give us a synopsis why we should be. I think it's an open public invitation. Am I correct?
Yes, it's open to everybody. It's free to be there. I saw because it's at Fusion, some people ask me, how much is it going to cost? I was like, no, it's free of charge. What we're doing is we're going to be the first political party to release a vision for this nation. And I'm not just talking about, these little 5-year manifestos that people do. I'm talking about a real vision for this nation. And so, it's you, man. And so we're going to be doing that. Because our nation seems rudderless. We seem to be just adrift and we don't know what's going on. And we seem to be adrift in shark-infested waters and we're losing people from our boat every day. And so what this country needs is real vision. And that's what people have been crying out for, but we just keep going back and forth voting for no vision. And if we keep doing that, we're going to suffer. So we put together something years ago called Vision 2025, which was to show how we could benefit from our natural resources. But now we are releasing a comprehensive plan that's going to blow everyone's mind. This is a real vision to take this country forward. I call it the 100-year plan.
A 100-year plan?
I call it the 100-year plan.
Almost like the Oriental people who plan for 100 years. Huh?
Yeah, so basically what it isn't literally what we're going to do for the next 100 years because no one can predict what's going to happen 20 years from now. If you were in the 80s trying to predict what's going to happen 30 years from then, you couldn't predict the internet and its impact in the 90s. And so you couldn't predict the impact of AI now. And so you can't really plan for 100 years because you don't know what's going to happen. Because someone in some garage somewhere is basically going to determine what happens in the future. But what this plan does is empowers Bahamians to be the persons to determine their future. This is going to be the first plan that's focused on the people of this nation. And it is going to take power from the politician and give it to the people. Because what happens is we depend on, 12, 15 persons in the cabinet to determine everything that happens in the whole nation. We are going to stop that. And we are going to give the people real power with city government everywhere, including in Nassau, so that the people determine what happens in their community. And so this plan is gonna empower all people. We're gonna benefit from our natural resources, and that is going to empower all Bahamians, black to white, all of them. Even the oligarchs are gonna benefit. Some of them are afraid of me. They feel like I want them to be gone. No, they're Bahamians. We are going to empower all Bahamians, and that's what this plan is about. But it's going to put Bahamians in a position to determine what happens to them for the next 100 years.
Well, this one is going to be a very interesting show. As a matter of fact, some years ago, when I first encountered Mr. Lincoln Bean personally, I used to hear about him and Controversy TV, etc., with Utah Taylor Roll, and used to watch them. And I said, what would be interested to go on a show with him. Actually, we started talking about independent candidacy and a move towards true independence some time back together. I was actually there.
Mhm.
There was some discussion. We had our friend back then, Bannister. Attention. He was still alive and doing well at the time. He was on the show with us. We also had Omar Archer. He was also there. Those are the good days of Peter Johnson, the Watchman, and so on. What I want to really delve into, though, today is that when we talk about the freedom of information, being a theological mind, I immediately went back to the book of Genesis, where we had this tree of good and evil. And this whole tree of knowledge, where do we really truly want to know what the government knows, or is the government attempting to protect us from information that may be hazardous to our own sovereignty here in the Bahamas? We have joining us right now Mr. Reuben Ramming, who has been a former member of parliament, who is now presently serving as a senator. Mr. Reuben Ramming is a community person, very active, a businessman. And Mr. Reuben Ramming, if you would take the mic and let us know this whole idea of Bahamianization, true Bahamianization that Mr. Lincoln Bean is speaking about, he's bringing it to the forefront. How easy do you feel this is going to be in terms of us as a people actually overcoming the obstacles that are preventing us from knowing what we need to know and being what we need to be?
Hey, hi everybody. How you been?
Hey, brother.
Good to see you all here today. God, fun fish season is gonna start, right?
Yeah, but look at you doing bees today.
Yeah, Johnson, fun fish season. Listen here. It's good to be here. Good afternoon to everybody and under the sound of my voice. You were speaking about the freedom of information.
Yes, sir.
And then you were talking about Bahamianization. Every time I hear the word Bahamianization, especially since independence, the statement in itself, though, had a good political cliche and ring to it. Actually, the statement itself is problematic. That's like going to somebody who already own the thing and say, I can give you priority in the thing you own.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really think about it, it is almost as problematic as that crazy statement that they say, you can't have your cake and me too. It's my cake, it's the problem is me. My cake.
But
You get what I'm saying? And so the thrust that has been used with it generally politically has been, in my opinion, something that leads to people getting carrots and crumbs while missing out of the whole dinner table, 5-course meals, because at the end of the day, people are led to feel satisfied in a frustrated environment by token things when they belong, they own all things Bahamian. So the mere fact that you come into me in my house is worse than Columbus coming here with a flag and come into your living room, move your TV on the side, stick a flag in it and say, I discovered you and you weren't lost. The thing about it is we just simply need to ensure that Bahamian people realize the ownership of their commonwealth, which is already theirs. And it should not even be in a sense of an affirmative action kind of thing. Rather, this already has. The problem with that stems from our educational system, training our people to understand what is theirs, how it belongs, how their system work, how their country work, even how their government work, how all these other mechanisms work, so they can become on top of their game to know how to be able to monopolize things, and also to temper what is our praise, lust, and drive for foreign investors and investors, though necessary, but at the expense of minimizing the entrepreneurship, the opportunities for Bahamian investors. I'll stop at this point because that was just an opening salvo question. You've heard the statement that they put on the red carpet for foreign investors,
Okay.
and then they put in the red tape for our Bahamian citizens.
Okay.
You see, so there is an environment that is created that even now, so although that was a catchphrase for Sir Lyndon Pinden, the whole point of Bahamianization still is to me personally, almost an insult, because it's mine already. It's mine already. I'm not trying to get my stuff from apartheid and then get back. No, this is already ours. We're already independent, and we've been doing this for 50 years. Why aren't we better at it?
You know, today, I'm going to do some challenging today because, as it was some time ago, I questioned the whole idea, Darwin, also about us really truly being independent. We came from a situation of colonization. I look at the region, and this is something Lincoln Bain, I'll even allow you to address, because you may even know. But I let Darwin take a crack at it. But let me take this call quickly before I go down that road with you. Caller, go ahead. Caller? Hello, go ahead. Hey, how you doing? Sounds like my... Go ahead, Mr. Moscow. Who would have said that? Well, I don't want to go off on that.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I can answer that.
But Mr. Baines, go ahead. Mr. Baines. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So that's a good question. We have zero interest in dividing any votes between the PLP and you. Are you gonna let me answer the question? Let me answer the first question. Okay. Right. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, I have no problem with that. Listen. Okay, yes, I go live every Sunday at 5 o'clock on my pages to answer questions just like that. All right. So the question is, Mr. Moscow, we are not interested in. Yes, we're not interested in dividing the vote between anybody. We're not into dividing the vote between the PLP and FNM. We are here to. We are. I don't.
Let 1 second, Mr. Bain. Mr. Moscow. Mr. Moscow. Oh, that's the right name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's let the brother speak.
Okay.
And then we'll pick up your second question.
Yeah, Mr. Moscow. We are interested in one thing: a Bahamas for Bahamians. A Bahamas where Bahamians are first. That's all Bahamians. That's black, white, PLP, FNM, everyone. We are tired of only FNMs eating when the FNM is in power and the PLP suffering. We're tired of the vice versa. We are ready for Bahamians to benefit in this country. And that's all people. That's even the Moscows. That's the whole West Coast. That's the Simonettes. And that's the people in Baintown and in the ghetto. That's what we're interested in. But we are not here to divide any votes. We are here to offer people an alternative. And that's what democracy is about. And we should be proud of that.
That's how you divide it.
All right? So we are an alternative, and we believe that as is happening in many countries around the world, in Canada, You saw that Trudeau is a third party, and they didn't divide the vote. They won. You saw what happened in the Cayman Islands. All independents won. They got rid of the government and the opposition in the Cayman Islands recently. All right.
In the
And
Cayman
so,
Islands, how
yes,
was that?
that was during the lockdowns.
Okay.
And so we believe that Bahamians need an alternative, that they are tired. Some are tired of the back and forth, and they want an alternative. Even if the worst case scenario is, let's say we don't win the government, which I believe we're going to win, but let's say we don't. If they could have a champion for the Bahamian people or champions for the Bahamian people in the House of Assembly to hold the government accountable, that would help. We need more options in there and some people who are not tied to the FDM or PLP who can actually speak up on all issues. We are here for the Bahamian people, my brother, and that includes PLPs and FNMs.
Okay, but I think that's probably good news to many because right now I'm getting a lot of reports, even myself personally, Darwin Russell, that many people are tired. Someone actually stopped in front of my home yesterday blowing their horn. You know, I don't do the horn thing, right? But it's a young man who I've actually inspired to get started. He started from a dinghy, a small little dinghy. He used to go in this little inflatable dinghy, Ruben. Yeah. And there used to be like 5 of them in Fox Hill, right there in Fox Hill. Right next to the corner where the church is there by Fred Mitchell's. The little center there. Yeah, right? He's very drug infested, fellas him all over the place. But I went to this one young man, Lincoln Bain and Darwin Russell, and I said to him, man, you can do this. And they were taking this little inflatable dinghy and they didn't even have no motor. You should go roll there by Paradise Island, catch a little catch and come home. Now he has a charter boat. And he says, I said to him, man, congratulations. But guess what happened to him on Friday? He just got his boat freshly sprayed again. You know, he's making good money, got it sprayed all over. He didn't have his hard card with him. So they confiscated his boat on Friday. Defense Force has his boat. He won't get it until Monday when he presents his hard card. This is all young people on the streets, you know. There wasn't no leniency, no encouragement. Okay, have the hard card next time.
I know who you know talking about. That's Roman Street.
Yeah, now you go. And he said, he said, Daddy, God, I so frustrated. He said, but one day I came by your house because you continue to inspire me to do better. And I says, man, listen, this will be okay. Come Monday, you're gonna be just fine. So he mentioned Mr. Lincoln Bain to be, believe it or not, a young person. So I'm just saying that to say that people are watching, people are listening, people are paying attention, people are looking for alternatives to PLP and FNM. But of course, there are also going to be some great candidates in the PLP, and there are going to be some great candidates in the FNM. What we're looking for, as Mr. Bain just said a while ago, we're looking for people who are prepared to fight for this country. We need to identify these individuals who are prepared to fight for this country. I don't want to veer too far away from this whole idea of freedom of information, Mr. Russell. But if you want to just follow what Mr. Bain is saying, you can feel free to do so.
No, thank you, Garth. So when I think about freedom of information, you know, I think the U.S. has had it, according to the records, since '67. I think our legislation was passed in 2017, if memory serves me correct, but has yet to be operationalized. And I think recently the Prime Minister spoke about it not necessarily being a priority for him in this current administration.
Mm-hmm.
You have to question really the seriousness with which we take these matters as a country. On the one hand, we talk about transparency, and on the other hand, when push comes to shove, transparency goes out the window. We seem to be very selective with our memories, our approaches, and our adherence to law about matters when we think that they're going to affect us negatively. I'll deviate a little bit to the point that you made about the young man with the boat. It's funny that, you know, I was just watching something on Facebook the other day that echoes a similar sentiment to that story. And it was a little boy, and I think he was in Chicago, selling hot dogs in the front of his home. And according to the city, you're required to have a permit to do that. One of his next door neighbors, who was upset with the increased traffic because the little boy had got his hot dog cart had gone viral, and she reported him to the authorities multiple times. And so they came out, they did their job, they caused him to pack up his hot dog van, and then that story went viral that they caused him to pack up. But there was something else the police did that is unusual. And what the police did was they went back to the boy and helped him get his permit. After his permit was issued, they promoted his hot dog stand The young man has multiple hot dog stands now and is under the age of 17 and is a very successful young entrepreneur.
Mercy.
I tell you that story to encourage the young man that while the police did their job and it was accurate and it was correct and
Yes.
you were in violation of the law,
Yes.
with power comes responsibility. With power comes a degree of humility and wisdom that the police could have exercised in your matter. The fact that they didn't, however, should not deter you from learning this important lesson about business and life. And the lesson is, if you do it right, it really doesn't matter what the others who may be doing it wrong are doing. Take that as inspiration for you to fuel your next boat, the boat after that, the fleet of boats that you will have. And all of the captains in your boats will have your license. So whenever they get pulled over, this will never happen to you again. So I wouldn't want people to take these matters lightly. I think oftentimes in this country, when we see a misapplication of the law, or where the application of the law is only for Garth and not for Darvin, only for Reuben and not for Lincoln, I think that's that disingenuous nature by which our legal authorities seem to apply the law is what frustrates Bahamians. And hopefully a full enactment of the Freedom of Information will allow us access to some of the very information that we need to hold our government's feet further to the fire. So I'll yield the mic to
Reuben, and then Mr. Lincoln.
You strike a very interesting chord, and I know the impact, especially from the young man. And you're right on how he actually started.
Yes.
Kevin
Newbold. They call his name Kevin Newbold.
And not that. And knowing that the discretionary measure for the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, obviously we won't be giving him his boat back if it's something illegal like drugs, firearms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And there have been easier ways to do it. I think even now with our driver's license, although the marine law is slightly different. I mean, you have a certain time to submit your thing to that, but to confiscate a boat like that and no legal group or no legal fish, nothing else. I mean, we don't know the full details. Is a fact being overbearing. So it must be some sort of a policy shift that would have occurred. You and I, we're boaters. And that's a strange thing to happen unless you got caught with something or suspected of something. And then on top of that, we've seen how the government through its oppressive tax has been taxing the marine environment, especially for behemoth fishermen and pleasure cruisers, at the expense of crediting the foreign boats that comes in instead of taxing them more appropriately. And so we've seen that happening. And this also ties even to the point of this marine environment into the Freedom of Information Act, because we see right now, I'm seeing reports and documentation as relate to the fact that this administration has given to an American who used to be an advisor for the Exuma Parks. And they brought him in, and he used to work with the government. And it's coming back down to basically what the spirit is saying, to advise on all the Exuma Parks, the same place where they launching SpaceX rockets, very near to our pristine parks. No regulations, no anything, no concessionary plan, nothing in place for safety whatsoever. And I think we all know, if somebody take time Googling it, the single most largest polluting piece of machinery are those rocket ships. As far as they contributing to global warming and stuff, what they could do within a few minutes, it would take the whole Commonwealth of Bahamas probably 50 years to generate all of that. And we doing 20 of them one time in our thing. Yet the Prime Minister running around the world telling people we being, yes, true, destroyed by hurricane because y'all global warming destroying us. We don't produce no emissions. We need help. We need money. We need resources and everything else. He's saying that, but yet for nothing, not even a warm bowl of porridge, you have these rockets now launching right in the middle of our pristine waters, in the middle of our national park. And then on top of that, you turn it around and you give an American who was here working with the national park to realize, what do all these foreign boats come here and want anchor? And now you give him access to 253 exclusive mooring rights throughout the Exuma National Park. So now an American owned the right that when we come with our little luxury boat, because we ain't in the sea, we'll be cruising to the Bahamian water. These are designated places where you could legally moor and pay to moor within the national park. So someone on that Freedom of Information would have had this accessible, and not only that, as related to things in terms of procurement and seeking, accepting bids for these things should have been exposed ahead of time for persons to do that. You mean to tell me there's no set of people in Exuma alone who live in that area say, you know something, we can do that, we can manage this and collect that revenue right there within there. But no, we had to give it to an American.
This is why.
Not we. Oh, forget that. We in this room. No, Davis administration, because Lincoln ain't do it, I ain't do it. You sure y'all ain't do it. They gave that, kept it secret, and now it's out because the fella done promoting this to the next Florida boat show that I got the right for parking anywhere in Exuma. You got to pay me if you want to bring it.
This takes us back to the Freedom of Information Act.
This is what I want to get back to. Yeah.
It's very important.
Yes.
And, it's also connected to we got to go to commercial break.
Let me show these numbers here. Folks, I got Lincoln Baird in the house. I got Ruben Ramming, Darwin Russell, myself, Garth Roseborough, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And then for the Family Violence, 242-300-5720, or you can text at 422-4796. Just give us a call. Thank you for calling in, Nico Moscow, and we'll continue this conversation. We'll be right back.
Tell Nico, man, when he get a priapism, at least get the other person a chance to respond. Yeah. Ain't nobody going to take no blow. They can get that blow. But if you ask him, sorry about that, but that is so bothering me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm talking right now. Yeah. Hold a second, my producer trying to talk to me. Nico, let me call you back. I'll call you back.
Okay, man. You tell me over talking to me.
I gotta talk to him. Yeah, I know, but I gotta let him allow Lincoln to talk.
Yeah, let him call in, man. I don't call him in.
No, ain't a problem with him.
He ain't a call with him.
Yeah.
He let me know when to talk.
Yeah.
He can't be in this business. He will take your beating. But the fact is, don't come to you asking a question.
That's it, and then run on.
Yeah.
He stopped
That
he didn't stop talking to me. I turned it off.
I know that.
I saw that.
Yeah. Because it's just as everything
Listen,
just
questions,
muscle.
okay, but you gotta ask questions and answer the question, give your opinion on the answer you give it, and tell them why you're wrong.
Let me call him now. Let him know.
You just give away the whole Exuma keys.
Yeah.
We gotta get back to that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Why was that even
Hey.
something that needed to be done?
Hello?
Well,
Hello.
that's why I separated it into this.
Yeah, I'm just talking to the producer. He's saying that it's a little muffled
It
with the back and forth. It's like a gurgling sound. He said you can feel free to call back, but they just need to allow. They want to call back to allow Lincoln to speak. Because Lincoln is anxious to answer. And just these small clips. There's a big goggle over here. Okay? Okay.
But I get campsites. But that could
Yeah, and then just allow one person to speak at a time, and then it goggles the microphone. Okay.
That's my point.
All right.
Yeah.
Put in public treasury, and then that's a good place for checks and taxing, and you know where these people are going to be. Defense Force can monitor it.
Whatever. You know the basis being like
Central Trust.
we are a former colony, right?
And fund the Central Trust.
Oh, we come back? Oh, sorry. Okay, folks, we're back. This is Remark here on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. It's just a privilege to have you here with us. Just want to continue to shout out to the Guardian staff and management and you, the main people who make this program possible. Feel free to be a part of Remark. Just find out how you can just be a sponsor for this show. We want to continue as we have great conversations as we're having today. Mr. Lincoln Bain was just about to say something to us, and I just wanted to trick him. Just a little bit before we got back, and we were just tuned in by our producer. But Mr. Mayor, let me tell you what amazes me as you're about to speak with the Freedom of Information, right? I'm looking at Bermuda, who is a British colony. I'm looking at the Cayman Islands, which is also a British colony. I'm looking at Turks and Caicos Islands, which are also a British colony. I know that we are, in quote, a former British colony. I do not believe Bermuda has an immigration issue, and I'm certain, as I visited the Cayman Islands, they do not have an immigration issue. However, for some odd reason, the Turks and Caicos Islands have an immigration issue, and we here in the Bahamas definitely have an immigration issue.
Yeah.
We have a Royal Bahamas Police Force, we have a Royal Bahamas Defense Force. I emphasize the word royal because I believe there's some obligation in this light. We have an immigration department that doesn't operate the same as the Cayman Islands or Bermuda operates. But for some reason, Turks and Caicos and ourselves, there are what they call glitches in our system that allow these things to take place where illegals can overrun and take advantage of a system. I'm going to allow Mr. Lincoln to talk more about the freedom of information. But I think this is one of the things that his Vision 2030 may seek to fix, because there has to be a way where we can govern and we can police those who come in. And then when we talk about freedom of information, we should be able to look into the immigration books and find out under which criteria, Mr. Lincoln Bain, Darwin Russell, Reuben Ramey, that these people are coming in on and being authorized. Even so, I've heard, Mr. Bain, that before they've even boarded the plane to come to the Bahamas for the first time, that some of them may allegedly have passports and can't speak a lick of English. Mr. Bain.
Well, I'll start with the first thing, one thing at a time, because all is related to the Freedom of Information Act. And, freedom, you can't have a proper society without freedom of information. You can't function properly. That's like your body not communicating. If your body isn't communicating, wherever there's a block, you're going to have paralysis. But Mr. Moscow asks a very good question. He asks a second question: where are you going to get the money from for this Vision 2030? That's a very good question. I was chomping at the beats to touch on that a little bit when you was doing your thing. You see, right now, Bahamians don't know how much money we have. Name one Bahamian who knows how much money we have in the Treasury. I released the documents a few weeks ago on my show because I have documents from the Treasury and Central Bank, but Bahamians don't know how much money we have. They don't know how much money is really being spent. So how could you say we don't have the money if you just don't know?
You know what baffles me?
How can you say you don't have the money, but every time the government wants to find money to spend on something, they spend it. The money appears.
You remember when they said that with the unions, they were finding ways and means to pay the union people the money that they owed them. Mm-hmm. But then they turn around, they're going to hire almost 500 people who have formerly been retired.
Yeah.
This is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the government has money. Let me put this in perspective for you. We make $3 billion a year in our country. This year, they're projecting to make $3.5 billion with a B. We have money. Last year, about 720 million of that went to interest. It's normally around about 500,000 and raised to 600. Now it's to 720 was for interest. All right. That leaves you with billions of dollars to do what you need to do. The problem in our country is corruption. One, they keep secrets because they don't want you to know how it works. That $3.5 billion is going to be siphoned from our public treasury by corruption. How does that work? They give contracts to their cronies. Their cronies inflate what it is, and then they give a part to the politician, and the part goes to them. That has been happening from time immemorial.
We've always said that this is alleged. We've always said that
of course,
that this is just suspicion.
Of course, anyone who participates in the contract process knows the amount of shakedowns you go through. If you've received a government contract to get your check, all right, I have dealt with cases where stuff like this have come up. We have seen it, all right, in certain instances in this country, but it's always hush-hush because that's how they operate. So we have the money to do what we need to do, but they spend the money on nonsense. Every single administration that comes in, the opposition is showing you how they're wasting the people's money, how they are scandalously wasting the people's money. We have money if we would spend the money properly. So, for example, Singapore has one of the worst debt ratios in the world. I think they're number 6 worst in debt, right? But they're still a AAA rating. You know why? Because their lawmakers, they can only they can only acquire debt for something the country can make money from. So good debt. So like you can go into debt to buy a fourplex, but if that's good debt. But if you go into debt to go shopping in Las Vegas, that's bad debt. All right. So Singapore invests their money with debt. That's how Dubai started out. They invested their money. When they found the oil, they only had a little bit of oil. So they found out with the quantity they had, and then they got a loan on that and started investing in stuff that could last longer than the oil, which is tourism, etc. And now they have tens of millions of tourists while we bragging about just getting to 10 million. Wow. And we've been in this for a very long time. Wow. And so we have a lot of things we have access to. We have natural resources. If Mr. Moscow is a Moscow, I know he's connected to Guardian, but if Mr. Moscow is a Moscow, he knows about the natural resources. All right, the natural resources are here.
But that's a discussion in and of itself.
Yeah.
I
And
would
so
do it on another show.
The
but that's
freedom
a
of
discussion in itself.
information is the problem. They're not telling you how much money we have. They're not telling you about our natural resources. They denied it for many years. Mr. Christie went even internationally and said the Bahamas doesn't have any natural resources. All of us remember that. But when we started revealing the truth, we see that there are natural resources.
Revealing this information.
Yes. And so we
Black
have
and
carbon credits. Before election, they said Lincoln Bain is selling dreams. Carbon credits isn't real. That's a scam. Now that's all they're talking about. All of a sudden it's real. You see? And so who are you going to believe? The people who've been lying to you or someone who's been telling you the truth and exposing what's been going on? So where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from our natural resources. We're going to finally benefit from them. When Reuben Raming and the FNM was in power, Carl Bethel stood up in the Senate and he said that the cosmetic industry is making billions and billions of dollars. He was expressive with it. You know, he's cool. He's not normally expressive. Billions of dollars from our flora and fauna. And Bahamas is getting not $1 for it. Like, what? And that has come and gone. And no one has asked, what's this flora and fauna he was talking about as the Attorney General? Also,
to that point, very quickly, Lincoln is correct with the statement, but also we passed a law. Which also ensure that we protect our interests with our flora and fauna, even our bush medicine now is protected. We even don't realize that we have been a country very sloppy in protecting our assets and natural resources. I think President Lincoln will agree. It's not just aragonite and so forth.
Every natural element is
things.
Yeah.
Junkanoo is a natural resource as well. And now we just finally copyright Junkanoo. We just finally did a lot of different type things because we let it grow. I'll end with this quick example because I don't want to break his trend. But when something said, you want to bring balance to it. So we did put laws in place that first jam that. So you can't come back here, tap into our bush medicine, get one formula, and go in the Bahamian people get no money. That part is fixed. But I'll give you a final example why we need to copyright and secure a lot of our things. The last musical instrument that was produced in the last century was the steel band. That was produced in Trinidad long time.
Yeah.
But the people played, but nobody ever sit there and copyright it. Some fella decided he can copyright it. Now he won the copyright to the steel pan. He had nothing to do to produce it. The final example, this other guy, I forgot his name, went through hell to discover the Titanic. And he got all spiritual and thing, I'm not going to touch anything and video it. The whole world know that he did it. Next guy follow his coordinates, go on down there, lift the bell of the ship, and guess who owns it? The second guy.
Yeah.
Because you got to claim these, you got to market for the laws of the sea. And I think that's part of the value what Lincoln said, to locking into what we're actually doing and taking rights of it to be able to stop the piracy.
Okay.
Now, here's where the problem.
Let me just say this quick call here, Lincoln. I don't want to break your call. I got to take this call.
Okay.
Go ahead, call.
Yeah, pardon me. No, I wasn't wrong with that. I was moving quickly, skipping across the two. And so I said, I know you are. But I said we did put legislation in place to be able to protect the resources. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're correct. It's patent.
Yeah.
Just a slip of the tongue.
Yeah. We just run into that. You see?
No more, no less. The laws have to change. Now, if they do something wrong, you're not going to see, and saying that you know what's in the treasury, garbage. The fact of the matter is, you know nothing. We know nothing. And until such time as laws allow us to do what they need for us to see what is going on, this is where the imbalance occurs. Now it gets even more complicated. Then you have third parties coming in saying, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Don't have the money. Unfortunately, they don't have the money. And the answer to the question, where are you getting this money for the year 2030? I don't believe a damn thing, anything's being said. It's just placation to the Bahamian people. Men like me get it done. And I challenge you to get it done. And that's the bottom line.
If I'm gonna let Mr. Bain respond to that. Mr. Bain says that he knows he has some information. We're talking about the freedom of information. We know that information is not free in this country. We've seen where the government has been spending, but there's no accountability, no transparency. We have seen where the government has promised that this would have been in the forefront, and then we've also heard the same government say that it's not a priority. There is a ping pong game at work in that particular incident, and now we're hearing from one of the third parties, the strongest of the third parties, I do believe, and what is now the alternative or option to the governance that we now know, saying to us that we deserve to know, and that they want to ensure that we do know. Mr. Bain, you want to answer, Mr. Moscow?
Yeah, I think me and Mr. Moscow are saying basically the same thing. I think he misunderstood me. I am saying that it's unfair that Bahamians don't know what's in the treasury. All right, it's unfair that we don't know what's going on. We don't know how much money they got paid to allow SpaceX to do their landing in the Bahamas. We don't know how much someone got paid to get the seabed. How much they really got. How much they paid. And so we're not getting information. So I agree with him. And we did not get Freedom of Information Act under the PLP. We did not get it under the FNM. We're not getting it now again under the PLP. And so we need...
The FNM did pass that, and then during COVID trust off, we allotted the first tranche of, I think it was a little over $1 million to start preparing the public service to be able to execute the Freedom of Information Act. That could not have been done unless there was an act that is in place. Listen clearly to Fred Mitchell. He called that act, paraphrasing, inefficient and not good. So don't mean that he could only say that there was something actually in place. And the public service needs to be shown how to operate in this environment. So movement was made on it. It was in place. Money was allotted to start mobilizing it and training the people to be able to facilitate it when you come in there. The last thing, this came out of Mr. Moscow rather quickly about the freedom of information. We need to be careful of selling this as a
let me finish my point.
Information is also a matter of national security. So I don't want it to get in Bahamian people as that means everything that go on in government you're supposed to know, or so-called per se have a right to know. Because like you said, we're not independent, we're interdependent, and the wrong set of information. Cabinet ministers themselves are sworn to an oath of secrecy. In that, and that oath carries with them even when they leave. So for governments, part of what Mr. Moscow implied is a necessity for secrecy. We just saying this blatant disregard of reasonable information that people should have. We should be able to have access to this, and then you state clearly in law the procedure and the timeline. If I got to wait 10 years for a certain type of information, then say it's 10 years, but right now, we black out. We don't even know what in the hell is the deal with SpaceX and the rocket's red flare, bomb bursting in the air, particles being found in our water, wreckage being found in our waters and other places happening right now. sonic booms coming all the way to Nassau and stuff, and we don't know nothing.
But Mr. Rami, let me get back to what the issue is. I said that the PLP nor the FNM delivered. Excuses are tools of incompetence that build upon monuments of nothingness, and those who specialize in using them seldom accomplish anything. And so we don't want to hear that the government needed more than 5 years because they were attacking the PLP that they didn't bring the Freedom of Information Act. Come on, man, don't interrupt me, man. I'm not interrupting you, man.
And the law was passed.
Yeah.
And implementation was
All right.
So it was being done.
There is nothing about COVID that prevented them from passing that act. That act
The act
that
was
act
passed and the
only
money was set up to implement.
needed to be. Listen, if you need 5 years to pass a Freedom of Information Act, and if all you need is you saying $1 million to put there, if that's all you need, you all don't need to come back in government. All right. No. We are going to execute that plan in 2030. You know what it's called? 2030. It's going to affect the Bahamian people for the next 100 years. All right. But to say that, I mean, people are listening, Mr. Rami. You know what I mean? You don't have no bad relationship. You have a good relationship. But people are listening and they can hear you. You don't need 5 years. Whenever they want to pass a bill on us, when they wanted to do anything that's going to tax us or raise tax to do anything to us, they pass that in no time. All right? They don't worry about how much money it's going to take to do it. If they want to pass bills for shark and turtle, they will pass that in no time. All right? They can go in the House of Assembly and pass a bill just like that. The bill they needed to pass in order to lock us down, they passed that in no time. All right? They went to the House of Assembly and passed it in no time. The Freedom of Information Act been kicking around for 20 years and we want it now. And the only way that's going to happen is if the COI comes to government who is not attached to these people who want the secrecy.
All right, folks, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, anywhere from the private violence, 300-5720, or text us at 422-4796. Caller, go ahead. Go ahead, my friend. C. Allen Johnson, Freeport. Go ahead.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I never said that. I never said that. You have to pass the law, you have to then enact it, and you have to enforce
you
it.
Say nobody passed the law, for God's sake. We
All right.
passed the law from
That's you mean
2017.
like how you call it copyright, but it was patent? Come on.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is
But
we
passed
need
that.
the Freedom
Yeah,
of
it's
Information
also-
Act to be enacted so that Bahamians can get the information that they need to get the information. I'm not playing with semantics. All right. I'm not playing with political semantics. We want the effect. The law is already passed. The law has been
You say it wasn't
in
passed.
Ruben, let me
No.
hear him clearly. Let me hear him clearly.
No. Hold on. The law has been the law. You asked me a question. Let me answer.
See, Alan, allow Lincoln one at a time.
Yeah, allow Lincoln. Let me
You asked me a question.
Lincoln answer the question.
All right. The law has already been passed. It has been enacted, except they only enacted the whistleblower portion of it, which is section 47 of that act. That's the only one that they have put into place. And so all we would do is give the funding and the money to the commissioner that they put in place to get this done. What they are doing is choking him out by not giving him the money to be able to put everything in place because they don't want this in place. Whenever you don't want something done, you choke it out with money. All right. And so all we have to do is put an independent commissioner in place. Give me a sec. Put an independent commissioner in place, fund him, and then allow the Bahamian people to have access to their information. If I own a business, I am a shareholder and I own that business, and my manager is refusing to give me information, that is treason. That is treasonous. That's out of order. The politicians are the managers. I'm not talking around. I told you exactly what I would do. The only thing that's stopping it right now is the money, nothing else.
Just the money.
The money in order. But you don't tell me how to speak, C. Allen Johnson. I know you're an F&M troll, all right, but you don't tell me how to speak. The money needs to be put in place, one, for training for the government staff. The money needs to be put in place for training for the government staff. There are certain things that need to be filed and put in the proper way so that it can be searched properly so they can find it and get access to us, to the information. We have to spend money on that. And the commissioner needs a proper staff to be able to operate. All right?
Well, let's take the next caller. And Ruben, I'm going to let you respond in just a minute. I know Darwin is itching as well, but you have some other callers in the line. Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my brother.
And then they walking around touching on the fact that these things happen, and the fact they did. But you had time to do something before that, but you ain't doing nothing. And then the PLP, same situation, just different color. Fred Mitchell tell you bluntly, no, we are not doing that, right? So what that says to the layman person who does, right? The FNM and the PLP don't want us to know our business because they are better and holding our business than us. It's ludicrous. And we have to move this country forward, man. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Next caller, please. Go ahead, next caller. I want to clear this board real quick. Go ahead, caller.
Good day, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. Trying to get this board clear so we can get back to this conversation, but we want to include you, so go ahead.
All right. The question, good day, Mr. Bain, and listening audience and the guest. What's the guest name?
Well, we ain't no guest. We here all the time. Mr. Bain is a guest today. We got Darwin Russell, the co-host, and we got Mr. Ruben Raming, who's a man who also co-hosts along with us.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, sorry. I thought that was Mr. Latrey Ramin. All right.
Who looks like Latrey Ramin in here?
Pardon me?
Which one looks like Latrey Ramin?
No, I don't know. I just heard Ramin.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, that's Ruben Ramin, the senator.
The Prime Minister is, if everything that Mr. Bain has been saying for years, if it is not true or it cannot be done, why are they not coming out to the Bain people and saying so?
All right, thank
That's all
you.
I want to know from the PM, the opposition leader, any MPs, any cabinet minister, any lawyer, anyone in the country. If Mr. Bain, what he's been saying, cannot happen, whether it's getting acres for our land, benefiting from national laws, whatever he's talking, if it is not true.
Okay, like I promised Mr. Bain, we're going to have a show on that in the future, but I do appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Right. Next caller, please. Next caller. Hey, sound like a good friend, Brad.
And do you get?
Yes, sir.
I expect that you guys will have a balanced showing, and you can't just let the COI speak and then block out FNMs and anybody else who wants to speak.
Well, I know I invited you to be here.
I am quite interested in what C. Allen was going to ask.
I hope you go about it.
And apparently Mr. Bain seemed like he don't want C. Allen Johnson to speak, and that is unfair.
Well,
People that knows better, you want to hear from them, but you just got all the COIs calling and running on, and
well, we don't want to make it. You don't want to make it personal. This is remark. We don't want to make it personal. We want to make it make sense. It has to all make sense because we're trying to make the country better. So we don't want to make it personal. We just want to make it make sense. So see, Alan, if you're hearing, if you're listening, Mr. Ruben Rami said he'd like me to call back in. Feel free to call back in, Mr. C. Alan Johnson. Go ahead, Mr. Bradley Camp.
Thank you, Mr. I appreciate that. Let's balance the thing out, man. Let's not make it about COI. Let's balance it out. We're behaving. Thank you.
All right, next caller. Is this the last caller? Go ahead, caller. Caller, go ahead. All right, go ahead. All right, Mr. Rami, say something then. Mr. Bain, and then
I listen
of
to
course, Mr. Russell as well.
Mr. Bain salient point, but I'm saying, but oh Lord, I find it so interesting. Nobody interested, nobody serious. Take 5 years to do this, and even when confronted with the facts of the matter, it still doesn't change his mind. The last FNM administration, when was that? May? Came into power in May 2017.
Mm-hmm.
May 2017. The Freedom of Information Act was passed in 2017. By April of 2018, the Prime Minister was announcing the phased implementation of the various components of the Freedom of Information Act. And people throw so much subterfuge into things, you don't even know what's going on. Oh, you don't need a Dorian. Oh, you need a COVID. Listen here. From the time that administration came in, the Minister administration came in, one of the first things they did was implement the Freedom of Information Act. Then they started going through the process. But see, when you ain't there, you don't know sometimes. First of all, no, see,
The 5-year process.
First of all,
It's now 10 years.
First of all, we're not responsible for 10 years, responsible for our time.
Okay.
First of all, we need to understand where we at. And it's the same things that undermine a lot of Mr. Bain's presentations. It goes where you want, but it don't consider where you at. Where we were at is a country where the immigration registry, immigration alone, I must say $1 billion the size of the immigration office, with all the physical files were in paper form. A court system where if you want to look for information, you probably got to go find the person who buried it or filed it way back then because they're digging up water damage to files everywhere else. One of the things we had to implement was starting to digitalize these things so that people could find and get this information within a reasonable time period. And then also to educate the public and everything else as related to the effectiveness and what they could actually expect from the Freedom of Information Act. And the digitalization, as we well know, is very, very important because that was impacting even the judicial system in terms of court cases and getting filings and getting documentation for information that you need. We had a major, and still have a major problem, but we started those processes right ahead of time. As we started to unveil and get some of these things done, then we had the commissioner put in place. We also had the monies to start begin training because you would have to assign persons under those acts to every ministry. You see what I'm saying? But you can't just go to a regular file clerk and say, I want this information. They need to know what to do, how to do it. All this was started under the administration, notwithstanding all that is going on. But we're sitting right here, nobody never doing nothing. Even when we in the Senate or in Parliament and people come say, people never do nothing, I just have a problem with that. Even the PRP never did nothing. It might have been lousy, it might have been insufficient, but nobody backed zero. Right. And so I have a problem when everybody comes in, nobody never do nothing. And when the facts sitting right in your face, and then the arguments which, you had 5 years to do it, 5 years, now you're hearing right now 10 years. What I have to do with 10 years? We was there 5 years, and from literally day one in politics, you see passing of the act, implementation of the act, preparing the environment for the act, which we're still working on right now.
Let me just say something in there. It's very important that we understand this because people are listening to this.
Yeah, right.
You see, if you're supposed to cook dinner for your family, cook dinner for them to eat, and you come to them and show them the receipt where you went to the grocery store and bought the food, that don't help. All right? We need you to go in there and cut up the herbs and put that food in the fire and cook that and put that on the table. We don't want to hear you saying that you did something. Here's where the theory that Mr. Reming said. Come on, man. I didn't interrupt you, man. here's where his theory goes wrong, because he mentioned court documents and this and that. I will tell you one thing. I could go to the Supreme Court right now and get any document I want access to. Anyone who knows about that knows that. You can go and get any document you want to in the Supreme Court. So him bringing that up as an excuse, that don't work. It doesn't have to be digitized. There are files and filing cabinets. So wherever you have this stuff where it is working properly, then you go to those offices and you start there. You be efficient. You say, okay, these offices are filed properly. Everything is good over here in this office. Let's go to this office and work on that. These other offices over here, everything is all over the place. We don't know where they are. Let's put a team to organize that while we put all these stuff that's filed properly in the system. We just need to be effective, man. And he is showing us that the F&M is not effective. I didn't say it to be political, but this is their public record. And he is expanding on that because you're making excuses. It should never take 5 years to pass one act that you spent the 5 years before criticizing the PLP about. And when I say pass it, you know what I mean? I don't mean just passing the law in the House of Assembly. I mean putting it into action. The people should have access to our information, and we should have it now. They are making excuses, which means, based on what he's saying, when they come back, it didn't get done. The PLP isn't going to do it, and they're not going to do it.
I got that Darwin got a little piece in there, but I got these phones all lit up again. Caller, go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Sounds like Grand Rapids.
Is that we have some people calling in, and we have some people that are fighting Mr. Bain. Now, whether you like Mr. Bain or you don't like Mr. Bain, he's been doing what needs to be done. And I suspect he may carry on like Donald Trump when he gets in on day one. Think about it, gentlemen, and I'll be brief. What have we really gotten for the last 51 years of governance? And I don't attack individuals. What have we truly gotten? Not one new hospital, not Freeport fixed. And the Southern Islands, as you go south in the Bahamas, it's like you're in a time machine. You're going back in time. Nothing has been done except a bunch of potholes. And it's not that I hate any of the people that have been governing us, but the one thing that I've never heard, I hear that we got some jobs. I've never heard, what about the ownership? I just had this conversation today with yellow and red persons. Think of this scenario. I have a piece of property in Lyford Key worth $10 million, but I don't have money to put a house on it. So you come, that's Quincy, right? You come and you say, Graham, I have $1 million. I'm going to put $1 million house on your $10 million property. And we're going to rent this out every night for $10,000 on Airbnb. And I'm going to let you be the gardener, the janitor, or the housekeeper, and pay you minimum wage and give you a bonus. And I might not even, anyway, give you what is due to you. Instead, I've never heard somebody negotiate like, wait, this is our people's crown land. We're going to get 50%, and you're going to get 50% because we're equal partners. Split that $5,000 each. Instead, we negotiate deals like soup kitchen owners. So I've looked at 51 years, and I spoke to some people at Paradise Island, the cab drivers that were sitting around, and I said, what have you gotten? And I can leave you with this. One cab driver, and I can be nice on the radio, said, I've been getting juice by this party and juice by the other party. I can try the new guy because he may juice me, but I know I can get juice with these two. But you all have a good day.
I'll take care of that.
Something. If you don't fix the Bahamas, the foreigners will own everything. And I don't mean the people who you think I mean when I say foreigner. Your Bay Street has been given away.
Thanks a lot there, Graham. Next caller, please.
Good afternoon. Am I on?
Yes, you're on. Good afternoon.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Garden. Good afternoon to everybody in the studio.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Mr. Moscow, who would call, and I totally agree when he was talking about how we elect these individuals, and they go from like simpleton to like regency or like, you know what I mean, to great power, right? And I mean, they simpletons, right? And I was listening to Mr. Raman, and Mr. Raman was talking about the secrecy thing inside cabinet and different things, and I've been against that from the time I've heard about it, from the time Ms. Moxie had a talk show. And because how is it that these individuals who were simpletons, right, we elect them to represent us, and then they go and they discussing our business, and we don't have a right to know what they talking about. And I know Mr. Rahman knows that if he was never a part of cabinet, he would say to himself, that makes no sense, because if I own a grocery store and I hire individuals to manage my store, can you imagine individuals going in the room and having a meeting about my shop, and I don't know what they're talking about, and then they leave and they sworn to secrecy to never tell me what they were dealing with my shop? That makes absolutely no sense. I feel as if, just as how open as how the House of Parliament is, cabinet should be open just like that. And I feel as if that if we the people were able to see what goes on inside cabinet, that we would be shocked to see how those individuals carry on inside there. But I feel as if we need to end that stupidness about secrecy, because y'all talking about our business, and we need to know exactly what y'all dealing with when y'all dealing with our business, because we need to understand how in the world y'all has come up with these ridiculous decisions that y'all make. All right. And one more point before I go, Mr. Bain. You might recognize my voice, Mr. Bain. I sat on the side of you when Michael Pintard had a showdown by Jem. All right, and you told me something about whatever, and you also know me because one day when you and Shelly Moss was out in front of 94.9 FM, I came down there with you and I showed you what I was dealing with in terms of my craft and my work. Now, since then, I have expanded on that, Mr. Bain, and now again, like how Mr. Moscow was talking about, I'm about solutions. I'm about doing things. You understand where I'm coming from? And I have something that can send this nation in a new direction, and that can become a new industry, and that can supply guaranteed sustainable jobs, hundreds for people, and not just jobs, not just giving persons a fish, but teaching them how to fish. You know what I mean? Teaching them how to be entrepreneurs for themselves in a sustainable industry. But I want to come to you because if you are truly an individual, an activist who stand up for all Bahamians, right? I want to present my case to you because there's a particular agency in government that I want you to help me deal with.
All right, we'll reach back out to the producer, leave your number so Mr. Bain can contact you.
I want to know how to get in contact with you. And
yeah.
803-5995 is my number. It's on my Facebook page. 803-5995.
I got to take these other callers, though. It's on his webpage. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Bain, quickly. What's your number?
803-5995.
All right, you got that? All right, let's take the next caller, please.
Yeah, so C. Allen Johnson again.
All right, C. Allen. Yeah, we got this. I got this board lit up now, C. Allen. Give me a quick synopsis. Go ahead.
I'm going to take as much time as his supporters does.
Okay.
Supporters does.
Okay.
I'm saying, for that caller, if he wants to understand what tokenization is, that gives access to capital that is required for people to go into business, he can call 825-9700 for C. Allen Johnson. But let me just quite say, because Mr. Bain say, just like he has supporters, the FNM has supporters, the PLP have supporters. I support Michael Pintard and the FNM. Okay, plain and simple.
Okay.
So what happens to this? The problem is that oftentimes you hear people say who, what, which, when, where, and why. But most of them lack the competence to say the hows. See, I support Michael Pintard because he believes in a sustainable, inclusive, opportunity and ownership economy. We don't have to debate that. Maybe others may not understand that. I understand the digital imperative that we're in. The digitization, digitalization, datification, and digital transformation need of this economy being 21st century in it. I don't believe that you have wealth without work. But I also understand the value of where we are in the 21st century and not illusionary benefits. And so I'm simply asking Mr. Bain, tell me the how. And I put to you, see, because I'm not going to fight with Mr. Bain because 99% of what he said is pirated and parroted from individuals like myself.
Oh,
and the 1%, I know it's not questionable. I'm telling you, I'm stating facts. Because everything, if he gives you a supposition, I can explain you the date and time he got it. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm simply saying is the 1% that of the time I say, because I don't lie, is when he's misleading. But
let's not get to the personal situations. Let's stick to the ideas. Let's stick to the ideals. We want to build. We don't want to tear down.
When we talk about the need for digitization for the so-called Freedom of Information Act, and you say you need money. Money solves some problem. But again, you must first, I think one of your callers says, you must first recognize where you are and where you need to be. Because it's a simple rule. It says you can't manage what you cannot measure, but you can't measure what you are incapable of acknowledging. And that's the problem with people who have ambition that's greater than their ability. And so I'm simply saying is this, when I ask the how, it's a process for which Freedom of Information Act, independent of government. It's a utility. And then when you understand how that works, then you can understand. Then you can explain to me how it works in context of governance. I have no problem explaining that. I don't ask questions I don't know the answer to.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm simply saying this. But let me just say this: 99.99% of what the Coalition of Independents say is pirated.
Oh man, see, I can't go with that one now. See, I don't. See, you got to stay away from that. You stuck on that record. We can't go around just saying these things to each other. We're trying to build a better Bahamas. We're not trying to take away. Folks, this is one show where we have Mr. Lincoln Bain here, Coalition of Independents, Vision 2030. We have Mr. Ruben Raming here, Senator, Free National Movement. We have Darvin Russell, co-host. I'm Garth Roseborough. Let's take a break. See you on the phone lines, but we'll be right back. I don't know why our people just started keep attacking. I don't get it. It's getting a little old to me. No, it's getting old to me because they ain't getting no better.
Yeah, we need to talk about the reality of what's going on, the information, principles that are not being done. It's a reality. You're not attacking anyone when you say you were in for 5 years. You just had to pass an act. Just pass an act. That's just simple. And then implement it, enact it, and implement it. That's very simple.
Yeah.
That's me go again.
No, I can't take no time. And who?
Mr.
I
Show.
can't take no more. Right. No, I need Darwin to finish off. Yeah.
The red button. Cut them off.
Okay.
You ain't gonna look at me way behind you. The red button, cut them off.
Yeah, I know. All right.
So if you see a flashing green light, you want to talk to them, put on the second row. If you ain't feel like talking to no one, don't touch the phone.
If you said Wally, put it on the second. No, the second one.
That's good. That's live.
Oh, so if I want to listen to this call, I press that button.
And then it'll be live for
And
you.
then, oh,
Are you
got
gonna get rid of that? The red button is
it. I
you.
love that. Love that.
So
No,
that's
but we
me
shouldn't
go.
take any more calls. Let's just finish our conversation. Because I think it's worthwhile. People need to, yeah.
So I ain't like that. And they gonna call back around.
No.
So what are you now?
All right.
So you now is
I'm letting all calls talk. We got at least say something. All right.
now use the cutter.
I come. I'm going to cut it. Anybody? Well, you ain't gonna get what I'm going once more.
I just don't know where the time is go with this show. Like,
You gotta get more sponsors until they go time.
no, 1.5 hours is a good.
Okay, gentlemen, this is the time. We're not taking any more calls. There's too many calls on the line. We have to allow each of you to have a closing segment. Let's keep it eye on the time. I can read one announcement here. But I'm not going to take any more calls. I'm going to let us finish off.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Bain, you need some time to promote the event. Okay? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, folks. We're back. This is Remark here on Garden Radio 96.9 FM. Listen, those phone lines have been lit right up, and at this particular time, I can't take any more calls. I mean, it's just the calls keep on coming in, but listen in the future. Just tune into Garden Radio all day on Sunday, 96.9 FM. You know, this week the talk shows are going to be hot. It's going to be lit. You start off in morning with Morning Blend and just go on all the way through. You got C.A. Newry, you got Aaron Green, you got Howard Grant, you got the Z-Line, you got Naughty. I mean, it's just filled of talk about our nation and nation building. I just got to read a little note here to you. This here is for the, it looks like the Collect Victory Fest script. This here is Collect the Bear of the Bahamas invites you to Victory Fest 2025. And they're asking you to join them on Saturday, March 1st at Smugglers Square for an epic celebration of the 2024 Boxing Day and 2025 New Year's Day Junkanoo winners, the Saxons Superstars. The Junkanoo season may be over, but the celebration is just getting started. Enjoy music by Playhouse, DJs, Lil Giant, and DJ Tank, and performing live, Franchon and D-Mac. Let's celebrate the 4 straight Jungle the winners. What do they say? Saxons, superstars. Well, folks, we're here. Freedom of information. It wasn't so free today. I feel like I got beat down. I mean, I looked at Wally, said, Wally saved me. Wally said, boy, you on your own. I didn't get no sweet music to keep me jumping and live. But listen, anytime you have Lincoln Bain in the house, Ruben Rami and Darwin Russell, you're going to have a great time on this show, Remark. I just want to thank these gentlemen for being here. I'm going to give them each 3-4 minutes to just go ahead and give closing remarks. Mr. Lincoln Bain and the COI, you do have a big event coming up. I think it's next week, Saturday.
Yes.
You want to tell us about that and give us some fellow remarks to your listeners and your supporters?
Well, it's this week, Saturday. So that's Saturday, the 1st of March.
Where's it going to be?
So it's going to be at the Fusion Superplex.
I never been in there, you know.
Yeah, well, it's
I mean,
beautiful.
I've been in there, but I never said no Fusion seat.
Well, we got the big screen and the nice seats.
The
It's
chair-
comfortable.
The chair can jiggle
Yeah,
up
man.
and vibrate for
You
me.
could sit down for 3 hours and you could fall asleep in them chairs. Yeah, nice. It's nice.
All right.
And so it's going to be there. We're going to start at 7 p.m. It goes live on ZNS TV and radio. It's going to be on every ZNS radio station. So
That's big.
That's 104.5. That's
You-
1540,
you-
810.
You ain't called Guardian?
Yeah, we spent a lot of money.
What about the Guardian? What about the Guardian
So-
money? What about the Remark money, man?
Yeah, we'll think about it. When I start
You would
coming,
think?
when I start coming back on the Guardian shows, we'll start
I
spending the
you
money.
start
on the
with me.
Guardian. Okay, so it starts now.
All right.
So next event,
All
we'll
right.
come see you.
All right.
Yeah, so it's going to be an amazing event. You're going to hear about a vision for this country, but not just a vision for projects and things. It's going to be a vision for the people. You know, it's going to be the vision for nurses, the vision for teachers, the vision for students, the vision for pilots, the vision for the Bahamian people, about how we're going to empower the Bahamian people and the things we're going to do to take power from the politicians and give it to the people. That's all we want. The politicians have been failing us, God. They've been failing us. And so if we got to go 70 years without the government building one hospital, the last hospital built by the UBP, and these fellas patting themselves on the shoulder, that's failure, man. All right? They're making excuses for the simplest of things. And that's been happening for since we've been a nation. And at some point, we got to get tired of the excuses. You know, I go back to the Freedom of Information Act. If you can't organize the data, the information from before, you start from today.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. And then you start organizing the rest of the stuff. But from today on, whatever contract you sign, etc., you file that properly and you make sure we have access to that. That's how business works, right? And then you organize the other stuff, and then we'll get to that when we get to that. But from today on, we want to know what you're doing now. And so we don't need an excuse for that. And so we want to transform this nation and put the power in the hands of the people. And so we want people to come down. We want you to hear what's going on, hear a vision. And this vision is so powerful. When we finish, we're going to allow you to contribute to it. So when the vision is finished, after we finish, you'll be able to go to our website and say, I like this, I don't like that, add this, add that, and then we present later the final vision that's of the people. But we have interviewed teachers, and some of them are going to be speaking at this. We've interviewed people in the medical profession, police officers, officers from all walks of life, defense force officers, etc. So this vision actually came from the people.
But we'll be there. We're going to make sure that we get one of those soft seats. Save me one, man. I want something nice and cool to drink so I can listen. And you want Vitamin? Oh, that's the that's all you want.
That's all let's drink.
You don't want no aristocrat, none of that. Vodka.
Even me, that's all I drink too.
But listen, Darwin Russell, you're a businessman. You've been here. You've been the co-host of the show.
Yeah.
You just want to give some parting words. You want to give some encouragement to Mr. Bain and to the people of the Bahamas who are voting in the next election. Go right ahead.
Yeah, man. I actually really enjoyed the conversation today, Garth. Usually, we don't have it don't be as fiery in the studio.
But it's too fiery.
But it was really good today. The only thing that I would always caution when you have passionate men in studio and who call, we have to allow each other to speak and just keep the issues, keep it about issues and not about personalities. And I think because so many sober-minded Bahamians listen to this show for information and for education, I think we have to always keep the discourse at a higher level.
Yes.
That being said, I'll tell you a story that I think is very appropriate for tonight. You know, I remember watching an interview that Jay-Z did concerning his earlier years, and he was being interviewed by, I think, one of those major magazines in New York. And he tells the story about how an uncle of his, when he told and shared his dream with his uncle was like, you know, I can support that, but really I can't see you getting it done. And he made this statement during the interview. And he said, just because you couldn't do it doesn't mean that it can't be done.
Mhm.
And I think we have to be mindful in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and contextualize some things. Just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. We have to, for the next 50 years, awaken our imagination to possibilities that may not have occurred in the previous 100 years, to believe that they can be possible in the next 100. The future of our families and future generations of Bahamians depends on it. And two things can be true at the same time. It could be true, as Ruben said, that stuff has been done. Stop saying that nothing has been done. Stuff has been done. This country has functioned. You know, I know sometimes for political purposes, we like to say that it's a failed state, but we are far from a failed state. And it can also be true what Mr. Bain is saying, that we have not done enough. We could have been further ahead along the journey. And that's okay to have those differences. I think as long as we're respectful and we continue to progress and push the Bahamas forward. And before I go, let me just send my heartfelt condolences to the family of that young girl who lost her loved one, whether it was her father, we don't know at this particular time during that horrific shooting that took place in Dunmore Lane. I'm sure every Bahamian has seen that video by now and grieves for that young girl and her family. To watch such an horrific thing happen to her loved one, I cannot imagine the trauma that she will have to deal with probably for the rest of her life. So I call on all the authorities, all of the people that are in her life to make sure that she gets the counseling, the support, the love that she is going to need. And I ask my fellow Royal Bahamas Police Force citizens to do whatever is within your power to bring to justice the men that committed such an horrific crime. So I will yield the rest of the time to Brother Rami.
That's Calvin Russell, the co-host of Remark, and then of course we have our other co-host, Ruben Rami, who's in the house. Okay, let's go ahead, Ruben Rami.
You're doing the end segment prayer.
You're gonna do that. That's your thing, and then I'll come on after you if it's okay.
I
I don't want to stay in your prayer.
No, I thought you had somebody assigned.
But I do, but I ain't trying to go down that road today. We got three, four good men. As a matter of fact, Mr. Bain was a former pastor. He may still be a preacher. You're a preacher. I'm a preacher.
Yeah, he can close it.
Darwin, he's a deacon type of fella. I know.
I'll yield my time and
Yes, go ahead.
Brother Bain could actually close it out. I just want to remind everyone that we have one Commonwealth of the Bahamas. There's no one way of doing anything. I think there's only one thing in life. There's only one way to get to God. You got to go through Christ. Other than that, there are many different ways in which you could win souls to Christ. I want us to remember that coming up in an election, everyone that is a citizen of this country has a right to contest, has a right to be heard. And every government that wins has the authority and the right to govern. But the opposition must always have its say. Let's learn to respect each other.
Yes.
Because when respect is eroded, then violence becomes inevitable. And we see what we see here today. With that, I simply say thank you very much again, Garth, and thank you, each one of you, for being such a good participant. And I yield my time to Lincoln Bay.
Okay, folks, one last announcement here. They said, let's celebrate 242 Day on Monday, February 24th. Listen, every 24th of February, the 24th day of the second month. Show your Bahamian pride. Fly your Bahamian flags. Wear Bahamas flag colors. Hey, eat Bahamian foods. Create and listen to Bahamian music. Donate in sequence of 242. Do something 242 times or 2.42 times. Merchants, consider pricing items $2.42 or $24.20 or $242, etc. But hey, let's have fun when we talk about 242 Day. Lincoln Bain, give us a 5-second prayer. You got that in you for the COI and the nation?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, sir, quickly.
Father God, I thank you for my nation. This is the only nation that we have. I thank you for our nation. I thank you for our leaders who have been tasked with bringing this nation to order. I pray for the Prime Minister of this country and the leader of the opposition that they would do what is right for the Bahamian people. I pray for the police officers who are out there risking their lives every day. I pray for the family of that gentleman who was just killed, and that lady, that young girl who is traumatized, who may be traumatized for the rest of her life. Send your spirit to comfort her. Send your comforter to comfort her. And Father God, I pray that the crime is eradicated in this nation, not just through prayer, but from our actions and from our leaders doing what is right. I pray prosperity over this nation and blessings over this one nation that we have, and that Bahamians would be put first in this. May God bless our Bahama land.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Listen, folks, man, so much things to say. This is Remark. Next week, marital rape. We got those ladies back in the house. Peggy Candace, and we got Robin Lyons. We got our good friend there, Alicia Barton. She's going to be here joining them, and we're going to have ourselves a great time. Alicia Barton, Edith. We'll see you all next week. Marital rape. What are we going to do about this thing, man? What you going to do? Valentine's just gone. I don't know if we need Valentine again or ain't going to be no more Valentine, but we got to do something. This is the Bahamas. We got a juice. The man said we got a juice. We'll talk to you next week on Remark at 5 p.m. on Garden Radio 96.9 FM. So long, folks.